An artist or piece of artistry that makes me feel really proud of the Latina community would definitely be Maria Elena Walsh. She was an Argentine composer, author, songwriter, singer, and she was such a huge part of not only my childhood, but like every little Argentinian kid's childhood. And actually my mom went on to sing a lot of her songs and perform them, so Maria Elena Walsh for sure, because she also truly, I think, moved so many different generations, and she was an openly queer Argentine artist, and I think a lot of what she represented made me feel like I connected to where I was from and the environment that I grew up in. And also I would say Relatos Salvajes, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's called Wild Tales in English, and it's an incredible movie. It was actually nominated for the Oscar, but it's an all Argentine cast. It's an Argentine movie, and it's a really special one for me as well because I feel like it represents our country in a really funny way that is really iconic, and I love that movie very much, so I would say those two.
Everything about Selena is like super inspiring, and even J-Lo's story of like how she played Selena is just such a, I don't know, it's such a proud moment. I think Selena is like such an icon and such a moment. Even today, like everyone knows who Selena is, and every time there's like a video of Selena singing, everyone's just so moved by it, and she's just such like a significant representation of the Latino community. And I think she was just such a special soul, and she came from those like really Latin roots, and it just feels really nice to watch that and to feel like that Latin blood like flowing, like where you're just like, oh damn, like that just feels, and she's obviously, you know, Mexican, she's not Venezuelan, but I still feel kind of identified by her a bit, and she's just one of those people that even after she passed, like her legacy will live on forever. And I think it's just inspiring to see Latinos that have that effect on, you know, the culture and pop culture that is like everlasting.
I've been finding such joy in watching stand-up comedians, and I have two friends, Sasha Merci and Edgar Rivera, who are dear friends of mine, and one is Dominican, one is Puerto Rican. They're both from New York. I love them dearly. It's a hard craft to kind of like sink into and have, you know, it takes a lot of courage to get up on stage and make people laugh. And there's some dark humor, and there's some like refreshness that I find, but also just I love watching, you know, Latinx artists really thrive, because it's scary. I don't have the bravery to do it, but watching them brings me so much joy, and like all power to stand-up comics.
John Leguizamo, Johnny Legs, was and still is a huge inspiration to me. I did monologues of his to get into college. Don't ask me to do them now, but I could probably get through a couple of them now. Just seeing him in Moulin Rouge, seeing him in Tu Wong Fu, seeing him in Mario, you know. I got to shake his hand, and he's just a really awesome dude. And yeah, I hope he knows that he's influencing a bunch of us out here, and he's definitely made his mark on me, and you know.
So many. I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erika Sanchez is a great book. I would recommend it, and I think they're turning it into a film, so keep your eye out for that one. Everything about it deals with growing up, deals with grief, and wanting more out of life than to just stay in your small town. Be a writer, that's what she wants to do, and it's really cool, and I kind of relate to it in a way because I wanted to be an actor, and that's something that most people would think is just something that you can't really do, but it is. You can really do whatever you want to do as long as you set your mind to it.
I think any sort of show or movie that has, because we talked about, even in the Emoji Game, about Spanish leads, and for me it was just so hard to think of like Spanish leads. Okay, what is it? What and the fact that that's not common, the fact that we don't yet make up, you know, a decent amount of leads in either movies or TVs, I think whenever I see a show or a TV that has my face, or people that look like me, that think like me, that came from the same places that I have come from, it's always empowering, and it's always I feel like I'm on top of the world. There's this beautiful movie with Javier Bardem called Beautiful. It's a little bit of a distorted reality in which he lives in. It has like these has some monsters, but it also takes place in fiction and in reality. But I think it was just so well crafted, and the story was just so well told about a father just trying to do his best, and having Javier Bardem do his thing is also beautiful to watch. So I think the movie Beautiful.
My mom, a 76-year-old woman that was born in Zacatecas, in a tiny state up north in Mexico, shared something very valuable to me, and that is part of me, that is part of my heritage, that is part of who I am, or who I try to be. And she said to me when I was little that there are two ways of achieving anything, and with those two ways you can open any door, and that is through being respectful and through hard work. And that is something that has been always there, and that is part of who my mother is, and that is something that she shared to me and also to my brother. Also, not so long ago, we did a film that is called Que Viva Mexico, directed by an incredible human being that is Luis Estrada. He's done many films in Mexico, like La Ley de Herodes, El Infierno, La Dictadura Perfecta, and he always talks about who we are as a society, who we are as a country, the vicious things and the virtues of our society, and this film is not the exception. Also, a book that we used in order to achieve this film, to ground this film, is an essay made by Octavio Paz called The Labyrinth of Solitude. It's an essay that Octavio Paz wrote many years ago in France, and he said that it was very important for him to write that essay outside from Mexico, to have an outside perspective of who we are as a culture and as a society, and that was very valuable to us. It's a writing piece that it's very interesting. Anyone can see it, anyone can find it.
Music is a very, very big part of my life. It's part of my everyday life. Also, being that I come from a performing arts background from my family, I've been privileged to kind of ebb and flow between performing and music. It's something that sets the tone for me on the daily, in any which way. My musical palette also is very vast, so I can go from listening to like contemporary jazz to soft alternative rock to pop and or hip hop. Hip hop being my biggest influence growing up. Music, biggest part of my life, other than film and TV. Some of my favorite musical artists, once again, there's a huge range, especially like growing up. I grew up listening to like a lot of old school hip hop, like Jay-Z, obviously Tupac, Biggie, Mos Def, Talib Kweli. Those are just to name a few. And then obviously transitioning into like hip hop nowadays, or the newer generation hip hop. You got your J. Cole's, you got your Kendricks, you got your Kanye West. And that's a whole other conversation I can get into. However, I also love a lot more like contemporary R&B stuff, or different genres within pop culture that play with sonics a lot. Like I love Frank Ocean. And then if I had to switch over to my Latin side, love Bad Bunny. What Bad Bunny is doing for La Cultura is second to nobody. He's the hottest artist in the world and in the US, and he's Spanish speaking. Bad Bunny's really put us on. He's put on for everybody. Bad Bunny, Rosalia, Omar Apollo are some of my favorite Hispanic artists, just to name a few. But anyways, yeah, that's to keep my answer short and sweet. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month to all my Hispanos and my Hispanas. Un besito y un abrazo grande.